The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds.
At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. It's Monday. We're starting our work week and we have news. That's what we do here. We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. That's why we do it over here. Your opinion, my opinion, we compare, and thus we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Big day for Donald Trump. Former President Donald Trump has been ordered to post $454 million by the end of today, following his months-long non-jury civil trial. But what the 2024 presumptive nominee of the Republican Party will do remains to be seen, as he is trying to appeal to the state for cooler heads to prevail and return what has been called an unbelievably excessive fine. The deadline for Trump to post the bond, according to New York Attorney General Letitia James's office, is by the end of today. Meanwhile, Trump is expected in a New York City courtroom. He is there. There is a hearing going on related to the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's hush money payments case. The trial was set to begin Monday, March 25th, with jury selection. The judge delayed the trial. That's because over 10,000 documents were withheld from the defense. Now, I don't know exactly how the Trump legal team is going to deal with any of this. However, all I can tell you is that there's a situation unfolding where this could be delayed further. It depends on the reasonableness of a New York judge. How much reasonableness is there? Well, that remains to be seen. And so what we have are reports, this one from Fox News to get things going. Let's take a look at just a little bit around Trump's trials and tribulations.
Potentially, New York could seize some of these properties if he doesn't pay this $454 million sum. Will that happen tomorrow, or what's next in terms of what goes on here?
It's anybody's guess. Maybe somebody comes to his rescue. He's currently trying to get sureties, trying to get banks, trying to get creative with meeting this bond amount. That may or may not happen tomorrow. The appellate court probably isn't going to step in. Most of their rulings, I'm told, are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we might not get help there. So tomorrow could be kind of a D-Day for him, a day that's, it's like predicting the weather. I think we're all on this roller coaster, yeah?
Yeah, I think we all are. And of course, this is just one amongst many cases we've been following. And of course, they talk about seizing properties. What would that look like? How would a state seize a property? How would that go down?
Collections is its own industry, right? And this is New York State. Even that being the case, I don't think it's mob run, which is the good news. But collections are their own industry. The state knows where all these assets are because these assets were the subject of this entire case. You could see liens getting filed, which is probably the most cost-effective way for them to enforce it, meaning that before Mr. Trump or somebody tries to sell the property, that the state of New York gets paid off. Obviously, that's going to hurt the value, you would think, of some of those properties. Seizing the properties, foreclosing on properties, that's where things start to get expensive. Maybe you have a situation where they want to spike the football and have a big showing of something. There's a lot of tricky ways about this, but as far as collections go, I'll tell you this much: the lawyers that I know that are into hardcore bankruptcy and into collections and things like that, they say this is a bit of a cakewalk because the hardest single part about this is figuring out where all these assets are. And they know because you just read the 92-page judgment and they know where the assets are.
Well, they say it's a cakewalk, but that's not necessarily the case. CNN came up with a report that talked a little bit about just how tough it is to be able to indeed grab these properties. Sometimes it's all but impossible. Check this out.
Seizing and selling assets in such cases can be complex and moves very slowly. Take the New York stock market scammer who saw authorities seize his bank accounts, his homes, his boats. It's been 15 years since Bernie Madoff's guilty plea, but investors only recently announced they've recovered just over 90% of what he stole from them, which many experts actually call a big success in this business.
When someone has an enormous amount of wealth and a lot of assets and a lot of partners and it's super complicated, that makes it, it drags it out. And it's unfortunate because you're right, then justice takes much longer and people have to wait.
In Florida, a court just this year ordered the seizure of more than $63 million in assets from a Miami commissioner for engaging in improper political retaliation. But he's fighting to keep his house, which is slowing the process. Some cases go faster. In New York, scores of ice cream trucks were seized after the city said owners racked up millions in traffic tickets.
Yeah, so it may be something that can be done for a photo op of some kind, putting chains on Trump Tower's doors, for example, but it's going to be a little bit tougher than this. So what we're trying to figure out at this point is what's going to happen with this hush money trial. In the James case, Trump, the 2024 presumptive presidential nominee, his legal team have appealed and requested a stay on the $454 million civil fraud judgment. Trump lawyers said today ongoing diligent efforts have proven that a bond in the judgment's full amount is a practical impossibility amid attempts to approach about 30 surety companies. The lawyers said the enormous magnitude of the bond requirement, which effectively requires cash reserves approaching $1 billion, is unprecedented for a private company. However, Letitia James pushed back, calling Trump's request for a stay extraordinary and improper. James has said that Trump should be able to secure the entire value via multiple sureties or offer his real estate holdings as collateral. Trump attorney Clifford Robert sent a letter to the appellate division of the New York Supreme Court, arguing James' efforts are unconstitutional if Trump does not post the bond by the end of the business day today. Letitia James is expecting to take steps to enforce the judgment. The real estate would not automatically be turned over to the state. James instead would begin to file liens on the property. That was talked about by Jeremy Rosenthal, the trial lawyer, on the Fox News piece we just played earlier here. James could attempt to foreclose through the liens, but each party is eligible to object and request the court to stay or stop James's efforts. Seizing or placing liens on Mar-a-Lago and other Trump properties outside New York could be more challenging for James, bordering on nearly impossible. An attorney general from one state cannot seize property in another state without cooperation of that state. I doubt very sincerely that would be in the offing. James could also begin freezing Trump's bank accounts beginning tomorrow, having sheriff's or marshal's offices report or order Trump's banks to freeze or turn over the money. Trump has vowed to fight the case all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. In an exclusive interview with Fox, Trump said he can afford to post bond, but he's pushing with his legal team to appeal the ruling altogether. Trump says he has nearly $500 million in cash. This was something that we talked a little bit about on Friday. The court knows exactly how much cash Donald Trump has, and they are trying to take all of it. That is confiscatory. That is improper fining, in my view. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't $100 million be enough? Especially pending an appeal that is sure to come and very likely to be successful for Donald Trump? What are we doing here? There are a lot of people that are saying enough's enough. When is some New York judge going to come up and say, okay, we've run this as long as we want to. Now we're running up into law, and we have to start thinking about law and constitutionality. That may happen. But as we heard earlier today, that could be on a Tuesday, tomorrow, or a Thursday. That's when the appellate division goes ahead, or the Supreme Court goes ahead and releases their releases their decisions. Trump owns more than 78 million shares of stock valued at nearly $4 billion, and this was something that came out over the weekend. His company, Trump Media and Technology, is the parent company of Truth Social. It is set to become public after a merger today. The company will trade on the NASDAQ as DJT, Donald John Trump. Trump owes more than 78 million. As I said, Trump owes more than 78 million shares of the stock. That's valued at nearly $4 billion. The sticky part of that is he won't be able to sell any of those shares for approximately 6 months. And even if he gets a waiver from the board of directors, if he does sell those shares, it will tank the value of the stock. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to give money to a rogue and incompetent judge, the puppet of a corrupt attorney general who's failing with violent crime and migrant crime, and whose only purpose in life is attempting to get Trump in the third person. Trump's told this to Fox News, referring to New York Judge Arthur Engoron and Letitia James. Trump said Engoron openly and hostily disrespects the decision of the appellate division, which ruled in my favor. Hopefully they will set the record straight. He has already been overturned 4 times on this case. That is a record, according to the former president. He vowed to fight the judgment through the court system. I'll fight this all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary, Trump tells Fox News. They can't take away your property before you've had a chance to appeal the decision of a Trump-hating, incompetent judge who has been overturned more than any other judge in the state. Trump added the business community in New York is devastated by this decision, and businesses are fleeing New York, never to return because they don't want this to happen to them. In the meantime, violent crime is flourishing. Yeah, this is something that is truly turning into a gigantic mess for the people that are indeed trying to push it. Speaking of the hush money trial, Trump is working to get something done with regard to that. He has appeared in a Manhattan courtroom today. He's expected to renew his push for that hush money payments trial. Judge Juan Merchan is holding today's hearing, to make a final determination for the date of the trial. Trump team argues that evidence uncovered early in March requires more time for review. They also say prosecutors with the Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's office received elements of the new evidence before the defense and allegedly violated discovery rules. Trump is accused of falsifying business records in relation to hush money payments he made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Bragg's office urged Merchan to deny Trump's push for further delays. Prosecutors argue that Trump's team is seeking to delay the trial for as long as possible. The ultimate goal is pushing his legal battles past the November election. Defendants' accusations of a discovery violation are a distraction from the only issue actually presented here, which is how this court should respond to the late arrival of potentially relevant evidence from sources outside the people's direction or control, said DA Bragg, writing to the court last week. On that question, the appropriate remedy is brief adjournment that this court has already granted, which is more than enough time for the parties to review what the people have now good reason to believe is the limited number of relevant records in the USAO's recent productions. Matter of fact, Bragg said that there were somewhere around 300 relevant documents. 300 relevant documents. What if one of those relevant documents absolves President Trump from any kind of liability here? The question is, why in heaven's name would this even happen from a standpoint of where this trial would go? This is a private business deal between private citizens. It's certainly not something that should be in a state court, because if there indeed is money that has changed hands regarding campaign funding, then that would be a federal deal. At least that's the way it looks in my opinion. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a couple of moments. Thanks very much for joining us here on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. We have people taking part in the chat room. You can find that on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and a little bit later on Patreon. Let's see. Poker says, these leftists don't give a damn about the Eighth Amendment. Will lie, cheat, and steal to destroy Mr. Trump. And that's kind of a strong, hot sports opinion, if you ask me. The other thing about that is valid, of course. They don't. This is the scorched earth that these people will use to do anything possible to keep Trump from being the president of the United States again. They've said that they will do everything they possibly can, which has dangerous implications. However, there are other things that are going on. These people may be shooting themselves in the feet. Pollster Frank Luntz. Before we get to that, I got to talk a little bit about polling. We've discovered in America that news polling is worthless. So this is one of these guys that has been polling American public opinion for a long time. His name is Frank Luntz. He is a Fox News contributor and gets things right, gets things wrong. and you have to take everything that a pollster says with a gigantic grain of salt. Okay, so what I'm about to give you from Fox News, just keep in mind that brief disclaimer here on the Wells Report. Pollster Frank Luntz recently warned that New York Attorney General Letitia James' effort to seize former President Donald Trump's properties could devastate Democrats in the upcoming election. The ex-president recently failed to secure the $464 million appeal bond he was looking for. He may end up paying the thing in cash. We don't know what he's going to do, but I'm pretty sure that he'll have some sort of remedy before the end of the business day today. James has threatened to seize Trump's assets, suggested the former president should secure the entire value by selling off his real estate, which his attorney, Clifford S. Robert, called unconstitutional. Quote, it would be completely illogical, the definition of unconstitutional excessive fine and taking, to require the defendant to sell properties at all, especially in a fire sale, in order to be able to appeal the lawless Supreme Court judgment, as that would likely cause harm that cannot be undone once the defendant wins is overwhelmingly likely on appeal. During a Friday night appearance on CNN, Luntz asserted that any efforts to seize Trump's assets will destroy President Biden's chance of being reelected in November. Quote, I want you to remember this moment and don't forget it, said the pollster. If the New York Attorney General starts to take his homes away, starts to seize his assets, it's all going to be on camera. You are going to create the greatest victimhood of 2024. You're going to elect Donald Trump. The campaign experts said such efforts would boost Trump's ratings and help him secure the presidency. If they take his stuff, Luntz continued, he's going to say that this is proof the federal government and the establishment and the swamp in Washington, that this is a conspiracy to deny him the presidency. He's going to go up in the polls just like he went up in every single time they indicted him. Wow. Luntz, who has worked as a Republican political strategist, went so far as to call the 45th president's critics stupid. In the 7 swing states, Trump is up by a margin of error in 5 out of 7. Why is that happening? Because his critics are stupid. They're running a horrible campaign. And for those people who don't want Donald Trump back, they should be thankful the people who are orchestrating his loss are as pathetic and they don't understand the American people. A Fox News poll released March 3rd found that Trump currently has a 2-point advantage over Biden. The presidential election is November 5th. Sooner or later, you keep attacking your political opponent and the voters attack back. It is one of the problems with negative campaigning. And, that's all politics, and I don't care about any of that stuff. What I do want to point out is this, okay? What I want to point out is this, is that people will make of this what they will. And people will make their decisions based on their determinations. Who will be the president of the United States? Only one group of people know. Not pundits, not news people. The people of the United States. They're the only ones that know. And they are going to do whatever they choose to do come November. This is the Wells Report. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Ronna McDaniel. Ronna McDaniel now on NBC, and she had a rough go of it over the weekend. Back with more in a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. We depropagandize the American news media. Welcome to the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. I have long talked on this broadcast about how political workers, political influencers, if you will, keep getting hired by major news networks. When Fox News, for example, hired Sarah Palin, I said, okay, so Fox News is biased. Now, this happens all the time, and it is an indicator for me that the news that America has foisted upon them, we the people have foisted upon them, is essentially just nothing more than a propaganda mill. This was intensified when Ronna McDaniel, the former RNC chairman, was hired as a political analyst by NBC News. And she had a tough time of it this weekend. This from the Washington Post. Former Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel faced brutal criticism over the weekend during her first NBC appearance since the network hired her as a political analyst including tough questioning about her failure to push back against former President Donald Trump's baseless claims of election fraud and visceral aggravation from the journalist who said her hiring raised credibility issues for NBC. Not that this particular hiring has anything more to do with the credibility of NBC News than anything else. NBC News is a part of this mainstream media rumor mill, this propaganda effort. It is quite literally the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party. That is not an opinion on my part, even though I'm using the opinion camera. It's commentary. But I've got to say that this is the news. NBC News is a joke led by the chief court jester, MSNBC, who has said that they will not put Ronna McDaniel on their channel under any circumstances whatsoever. Once again, NBC News, with the hiring of Ronna McDaniel, is shooting itself in the foot rather than furthering the political discourse or certainly the news. This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. In an interview on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, McDaniel, who stepped down from the RNC, was not asked about the firestorm from critics who said her newly announced role as a paid contributor was unethical because of her work to overturn the results of the 2020 election. The host, Kristen Welker, said McDaniel's interview was scheduled weeks before her hiring was announced. She said, "This will be a news interview, and I was not involved in her hiring." McDaniel, who as RNC chair repeatedly said the election was rigged, told Welker during the interview that she disagreed with Trump's claims of election fraud and that his calls to free the inmates jailed for storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. The reality is Joe Biden won. He is the legitimate president, says Ronna McDaniel, who once again is backing away from everything she said as the RNC chair. She addressed that in this interview, or this political piece, this propaganda from NBC News on Meet the Press. She did, I swear. Let me see if I can get this thing going here.
Former Republican National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel made her first appearance on NBC since being hired by the network as a paid political analyst. And she fielded some tough questions about her time with the RNC.
Do you disagree with Trump saying he's going to free those who've been charged?
I do not think people who committed violent acts on January 6th should be freed.
So you disagree with that? He's been saying that for months. Ronna, why not speak out earlier? Why just speak out about that now?
When you're the RNC chair, you kind of take one for the whole team, right? Now I get to be a little bit more myself, right? This is what I believe. I don't think violence should be in our political discourse, Republican or Democrat.
Meet the Press moderator, Kristen Welker, disclosed at the top of her show that McDaniel scheduled this interview before NBC News announced her hiring. The show's former host, Chuck Todd, who is now the network's chief political analyst, well, he was on the invited panel today, and he didn't hold back, blasting the network's decision. Take a listen.
Look, let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation, because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. So I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination. So it is, that's where you begin here. And so when NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News?
That's a great question. That is a great question. What does she bring NBC News? Well, what she does bring, in my opinion, is very simple. Here is another Republican that includes a group of representatives walking away in the middle of their terms, eroding the Republican majority in the House of Representatives. She joins a whole bunch of Republicans that are now trying to back away from their stated record and also backing away from a circumstance where where this looks a lot like Republican sabotage, and NBC is more than happy to have these saboteurs on their air. Chuck Todd is correct, and I don't normally agree with Chuck Todd, but this is not news. This is more of the propaganda mill that we keep seeing. It's one of the reasons why you're here. It's one of the reasons why you get your news from other sources. Social media news is ruling the day at this particular moment as all these other news organizations immolate themselves in what I consider to be anti-American propaganda. Look, Ronna McDaniel is someone who represents these, quote, journalists or these RNC operatives that are working as hard as they possibly can to bite the hand that fed them. It's not just Ronna McDaniel. We saw last week Don Lemon. Don Lemon gets hired for a multi-million-dollar contract by X, invites Elon Musk to join him on his broadcast, a far-ranging interview that absolutely was suicidal from a professional standpoint. Then he goes back on his old network and talks about how unfair and ridiculous it was. My gosh, it was even racial. You've got to be kidding, Don. And was that in Ronna McDaniel's mind when she's sitting there on the set of Meet the Press, talking about how what she was saying was, hey, I was just taking one for the team? Really? Really? That is absolute hokum on a lot of different levels. First of all, Ronna McDaniel. Is she indeed someone who was working for the reelection of Donald Trump? If you look through the primary season, you can say, nope, that's not it. She elicited from all the primary candidates a pledge to support the eventual nominee. And the eventual nominee, as we've seen through that primary season, is going to be Donald Trump. And all these people are backing away from those, quote, oaths of fealty. Well, that was predictable. That was absolutely predictable. But what it does, and this is the most important part about all of this for me, forget all the intrigue, forget all the propaganda, forget all the silly gnashing of teeth in the newsroom, and forget this incredibly biased report by the Washington Post. Forget all of that. What this comes down to me is this. Just exactly who is the Republican Party? What is the leadership of the Republican Party trying to accomplish? They are certainly not trying to accomplish working to facilitate the will of the people. These people are trying to play this ridiculous dual game whereby they elect as many Republicans as possible. Meanwhile, the one particular candidate that has proven over and over and over again that indeed he has the political power in this nation and in that party, that they just don't care. They just don't care. And what they're going to do now is they're going to, in this election year, work to sabotage the chances of the former president becoming the president again. And once again, I'm not advocating for Donald Trump. I'm not. What I'm doing here is I'm advocating for reality. I'm advocating for news that is news and not politics. That's what I'm advocating for here. And that's what I do every single day. It's not difficult. It's not difficult to do. You maintain an objective, factual understanding of what's going on. The facts in this particular case, the one that is most cogent for most Americans, is the political sabotage that has been focused on former President Trump, not just through his first campaign, not just through his transition, not just through his first term, but the political sabotage of his supposedly own party is what I'm talking about here. And now, when Donald Trump, through the primary season, has definitively changed the Republican Party to a populist American People Service Institute or institution, all these people are leaving. They're walking away. I mean, what's fascinating to me is the guy who did this the best is probably the most consummate politician I've ever seen, and that's Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell said, okay, I can see that the politics of the party is changing. I'm not going to run for re-election, but I am going to stay to the end of my term, which means he has it both ways. He may not necessarily be the Senate majority leader under, moving forward, but he's still the Senate majority leader. He is or minority leader, rather. He's still going to be there in that caucus, making very important statements and, to a degree, pushing policy. And Mitch McConnell has always been a guy who has played both ends of the spectrum at the same time, standing firmly astride the fence. And when it was politically opportunistic, he supported President Trump. When it was not politically opportunistic, he condemned President Trump. But at least he stayed through his term. And that's not what's happening with these other people. They're just not doing it. They're just walking away. And this is exactly why I fired the Republican Party definitively. I had done it once before. I did it in 2012 when Bill Frist and that gang of moderate Democrat enabling politicians essentially stopped George W. Bush's agenda. Was that 2012? No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was, it was 2008. Sorry. Sorry. Once again, it was 2004. I fired him the first time then. And then when Donald Trump was the president and I saw this backpedaling and this lukewarm condemning by faint praise strategy adopted by the Republicans, I said, you know what? I'm done with this. And it wasn't because of President Trump. It was done because I keep seeing this uniparty idea. I keep seeing rule by the political class getting together and figuring out what we're going to foist on the American people. Witness the latest budget bill passed in the middle of the night, $1.2 trillion by Republicans in the House. Move to the Senate. Oh, sure, we'll rubber stamp that. And then the president is going to say, President Biden's going to, oh, wow, money. Okay. And there you go. Democrat enablement is not what the Republican Party is for. What the Republican Party is for is to stand in adversarial means or adversarial attitude toward the other party and vice versa. A two-party system only works when there are actually two parties. Do you think there are two parties in the United States? I sure as hell don't. And so what I ended up doing is saying, okay, I'm done. I'm a constitutional conservative. People who believe this show, for whatever reason, is partisan aren't reading the Constitution, Bill of Rights, the Federalist, any of it. They're not. Well, I do. I quote all of those documents on this broadcast on a regular basis because there is a political movement that is averse, indeed standing in defiance of, not just all of those defining papers of the greatest republic that history ever gave human beings, but is also in a position where they're flouting American law. They're just flouting American law. They just say, well, the law really doesn't apply to us, but it does apply to Trump. That's the unfairness that I'm reporting. And so people will say, well, you're a Trump guy. No, I'm not. Not a Trump guy. At least not this moment. What I'm trying to do is objectively report what I see. And what I see is what I've always seen. The Democrat Party, absolutely against Trump. The Republican Party, ulteriorly, if that's a word, against Trump. In other words, the entire political movement, the body politic, against Trump. Meanwhile, the people that are not against Trump are the people. That's what I'm reporting. Now, people may not be able to see it, but I certainly hope so. A lot of people do. Are you one of them? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. This is The Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. Hi, John David Wells, thanking you for being a part of our broadcast. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. John on the chat room says the establishment has never charged nor convicted Trump of insurrection. I wish they would stop false labeling. Well, yeah, okay, but that is something that I believe is well past the bridge over the Rubicon. Good heavens. You know, the news media has absolutely destroyed itself. And I've got another example of it right here. This is from USA Today. I have labeled it outright disinformation. In other words, it is a, quote, news story that for whatever reason doesn't report the news, first of all, but it just plain lies. It just plain lies. And it's on the front page of USA Today. Go see it for yourself. 2 years after the Supreme Court erased the constitutional right to an abortion, creating a patchwork of access across the country, the justices could now pave the way toward a national ban. Okay? Keep listening. In a case they're going to consider tomorrow about access to the abortion drug mifepristone, the court could give legitimacy to a 19th century obscenity law that some abortion opponents are promoting as a de facto federal abortion ban that just needs enforcing. Even if the court decides the case without addressing the 1873 Comstock Act, which it could easily do, the justices could restrict access to mifepristone in a way that would make it more difficult for millions of women to end a pregnancy in states where abortion is legal. The result would be an end run around the court's stated purpose when it overturned Roe v. Wade, leaving the question of abortion to Congress and the state legislatures, according to the abortion rights advocates. Okay, So what's wrong with this article? Well, first of all, let's take the first paragraph, shall we? 2 years after the Supreme Court erased the constitutional right to an abortion, Roe v. Wade did not institute a constitutional anything. The Supreme Court of the United States, cannot enact a constitutional amendment. Can't do it. Can't do it. The only reason that Roe v. Wade worked was because nobody wanted to go against the Supreme Court at the time. The Supreme Court did exactly, and it gets back, I'll get to this later on in the story. The Supreme Court of the United States returned the decision-making on this issue to the states. To the states. Paragraph 2. In a case they're going to consider tomorrow about access to the abortion drug mifepristone, the court could give legitimacy to a 19th century obscenity law that some abortion opponents are promoting as a de facto federal abortion ban that just needs enforcing. Okay, stop. Okay, could, might, that's not news. Could and might are not news. Have and done, that's news. What they're doing is they're essentially putting out a propaganda piece so that people say, my God, they're trying to do it again. The Supreme Court, The Supreme Court is doing nothing of the kind. The Supreme Court is interpreting the law and the constitutionality of said same. That's what they're doing. And that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Paragraph 3. Even if the court decides to the case without addressing the 1873 Comstock Act, which it could easily do, the justices could restrict access to mifepristone in a way that would make it more difficult for millions of women to end a pregnancy in the states where abortions are legal. Nothing is going to stop that. Mifepristone is a drug that's on the market. I don't see how the Supreme Court of the United States could restrict access to it. That's not their job. It is not a super legislature that sits back and says, well, we're going to do this. And slamming the gavel, they say that's that. That's not what the Supreme Court does. And once again, this is hysteria. This is literally yelling fire in a church. If you could put being able to terminate a pregnancy at will, something that would happen in a church. Once again, just my opinion. The result could be an end run around the court's stated purpose when it overturned Roe v. Wade of leaving the question of abortion to Congress and the state legislatures, according to abortion rights advocates. This is the wrong story. Okay? The story shouldn't necessarily be about mifepristone. Then the Supreme Court's not going to do anything with mifepristone, nor are they going to overturn the states. The entire objective of the Dobbs decision was to return to the states the decision-making regarding this issue. And the states are making their decisions. And they will pay at the voting booth or not. And that's up to the people. Further, state legislatures are the legislative bodies that regulate and create law in their own state. The United States of America, not the Federal Republic of America. We don't live in the Federal Republic of America. The states get to choose what they wish to do based on the votes of the people. This is electioneering. This is electioneering. This is USA Today interfering in the 2024 election. This is the swamp, once again, exerting whatever they must exert to be able to create the electoral decisions that they want us to make. And so if they lose, what are they going to do? They're going to back over and run back to the same idea that we saw in Georgia with Stacey Abrams saying, well, the election was wrong. The people are wrong. And what does that lead to? Well, that leads to politicians handling the elections. Is that really what we want? I don't think so. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 of the Wells Report is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. Commentary is opinion. Opinion is yours, opinion is mine. Let's compare, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Thanks for being with us this morning. It is Monday, March 25th, year of our Lord, 2024. It has been horrifying. We were in a position where we saw what is nothing more than a horrifying atrocity practiced in Russia by armed attackers who killed nearly 100 people. The death toll moves around. More people are being found, etc., that lost their lives in a popular concert venue just outside of Moscow. So far, the latest is 130 people losing their lives. A dozen people have been detained in connection with the atrocity, as called by CNN. Among them, 4 suspected gunmen from the former Soviet Republic of Tajikistan, who've been charged with terrorism and remanded into pre-trial detention. This is what CNN is reporting. What happened? Attackers armed with guns and incendiaries opened fire at random at the Crocus City complex, home to a popular music hall and shopping center. This happened Friday night after the Friday edition of this broadcast. Crowds were still filing in. The auditorium was already packed with people ahead of the concert by the band Picnic. 6,500 tickets had reportedly been sold for the show, but instead of a night of dancing away to rock music, sheer chaos unfolded. There is a report, this from CNN. I want you to see it, pay very close attention to it, because I think it describes what happened at that concert venue perfectly. Watch this.
I've come back to a country shocked by events of the past few days. The number of confirmed dead in the Crocus City Hall attack has now risen to more than 130 people, according to official figures. All day, mourners have been laying flowers outside the burned-out building near Moscow, while inside, emergency teams have been continuing to sift through the debris and say they expect to find more bodies. And with more than 140 people injured, the death toll is unfortunately expected to rise. In a nationwide security operation, investigators say at least 11 people have already been detained, including the 4 gunmen suspected to have carried out the mass shootings on Friday night. State media has been broadcasting grisly images of some of the men tied up and blooded, being manhandled and interrogated. One suspect, speaking broken Russian, is shown allegedly confessing to carrying out the attacks in the Crocus City Hall for money. Well, of course, ISIS has claimed responsibility for the assault, posting images of what they say are the attackers with their faces covered. The terror group says the attack was a normal part of its war against countries fighting Islam. US officials say they also have no reason to doubt the ISIS claim. But the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, vowing revenge for what he calls a barbaric act, has attempted to link the attack to Ukraine, saying preliminary data suggests the gunmen were attempting to escape there across what is an extremely heavily militarized border. That's something Ukrainian officials have strongly denied. One senior official there telling CNN that the Kremlin is trying to implicate Ukraine, to rally domestic support for its brutal war, and provide an excuse for ramping up attacks on Ukrainian towns and cities.
And that was Matthew Chance, the global affairs correspondent for CNN. Great report. And unfortunately, there have been people that have lost their lives in yet another terror attack by ISIS. Apparently, we don't know, but the evidence will unfold as the evidence unfolds, and we'll see what the Russian court system does with all of that. Panicked eyewitnesses captured on video the exact moment gunmen, dressed in camouflage fatigues, carrying automatic weapons, started shooting indiscriminately. The footage showed concert goers screaming and ducking for cover behind cushioned seats. Others huddled together as shots echoed through the vast hall. During the rampage, one group sheltered next to a large wall of windows outside the concert venue were forced to break them to escape gunfire. This according to video obtained by CNN. An unarmed man survived the attack, said gunmen entered the concert hall and started shooting everyone. Quote, I was sitting in the hall upstairs where the balconies were. We heard gunshots. At first, we didn't understand what was happening, he said in an interview with the Ostorozhno Novosti, which was published by Reuters. The attackers threw Molotov cocktails. Everything was set on fire. The band's manager later told state media performers were unharmed. A SWAT team was called to the area with more than 70 ambulance teams and doctors assisted victims. A large fire at Crocus City caused the venue's roof to partially collapse. Nearly 500 personnel worked to dismantle rubble at the scene, according to the Russian Emergencies Ministry. How many people killed? At least 137 people have been killed in the terror attack. This according to Russia's investigative committee, this happening over the weekend. Authorities say that number is likely to rise as emergency responders work through the scene. Additionally, more than 100 others were injured, many of them in serious condition, including 2 children. Moscow Region Governor Andrei Vorobyov said over the weekend the victims would receive financial compensation from the region and city governments. Each of the relatives of those who were killed will receive 3 million rubles, that's $32,500, while the injured would receive 1 million rubles, $10,840 each. Children registered in the Moscow region whose fathers or mothers died in the tragedy will also receive monthly payments. In addition, we will compensate everyone for burial expenses and resolve all legal issues. Who was behind the attack? According to CNN, ISIS claimed responsibility for the assault in a short statement published by the ISIS-affiliated Amaq news agency on Telegram on Friday. The following day, the terror group published an image through Amaq purporting to show the 4 men who had attacked the complex. None of the men were identifiable in the image. All were wearing balaclavas. Those are head coverings that cover everything except your eyes. And the rest of their faces were blurred. ISIS described the attack as the fiercest in years, according to a translation of the message by the SITE intelligence group, which monitors terror groups' propaganda. Amaq also provided details of the attack, saying the 3 fighters attacked the crowd with guns and knives, while the 4th threw incendiaries. It said the attack was preceded by an intensive surveillance operation of the venue. The attack comes within the normal context of the raging war between the Islamic State and the countries fighting Islam, this according to SITE. And this is the intriguing part of this. The United States had previously warned Moscow that ISIS militants were determined to target Russia in the days before assailants stormed the concert hall. Earlier this month, the U.S. Embassy in Russia said it was monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow, including concerts, and had warned U.S. citizens to avoid concert venues. U.S. National Security spokesperson Adrian Watson said that the U.S. government had shared this information with Russian authorities in accordance with its long-standing duty to warn policy. But in a speech on Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin blasted the American warnings as provocative, saying that these actions resemble outright blackmail and the intention to intimidate and destabilize our society. Well, unfortunately, it turned out to be true. There is a report on this. Is also coming from I believe it's CNN. And let me give this to you so that you can see it for yourself. This is a former State Department person discussing the attack and the U.S. situation in it.
You look back, ever since Vladimir Putin was the president, which began, 24 years ago, there have been a lot of terror attacks. And after each one, there was an investigation, not clear what happened. And just looking at this, literally days after Putin was reelected, for a fifth term, I think they feel very, very insecure. And then the government on the other side, and we can talk about that, is trying to explain, why this happened. And as Matthew pointed out, apparently Putin was warned by the United States about their picking up intel that there could be some type of attack, in fact, in a theater possibly. And he just dismissed it as blackmail and attempt to destabilize the country. So I think there are a lot of answers that Russians would like to have. That said, I think the government will try to divert them into paths of thinking that the government wants them to have.
Yeah, and that, by the way, was a CNN bureau chief. Sorry about that. I messed that up. I thought she was a former State Department worker. Not the case, but she used to be the bureau chief at CNN for Moscow. Experts said the scale of the carnage would be deeply embarrassing for the Russian leader, who had championed a message of national security a week earlier while winning the country's staged managed election. Biased reporting on the part of CNN. Over the past month, Russia has thwarted several ISIS-related incidents in March alone, according to the state-run news agency RIA Novosti. There had been at least 4 reported incidents across Russia, and authorities said people involved were connected to ISIS, this according to the RIA. 4 men of the ex-Soviet Republic of Tajikistan have been remanded into pretrial detention, this through May 22nd, after appearing in court on Sunday accused of carrying out the terror attack, according to Russian authorities and state media. The 4 range in age from 20 to 30. They were named as Delerjan Moroziev, Soldakrami, yeah, I probably should have rehearsed these a little bit more, Racha Balizoda, Samsin Ferodini, and Muhammad Sobir Fazov by the Moscow courts on Telegram. 3 of the men pled guilty to committing a terrorist act during the closed hearings, according to Moscow courts and the state news agency TASS. All 4 face possible life imprisonment. Images from the courtroom showed suspects with bruised faces, including one man wearing a bandage on the right side of his head. Another suspect appeared non-responsive in a wheelchair and was accompanied by a doctor to court. This according to a Moscow court video. The Kremlin said earlier 4 people believed to be directly involved in the attack had been arrested while trying to cross the border into Ukraine. This also according to TASS and other state media outlets. RIA later published the purported confession of one of the men on Telegram. In a brief video, a man with the bloodied bandaged head spoke in halting Russian. He gave his name and the age of 30 when asked where the weapons from the attacks were dropped off. He replied, "I don't know the city. Ask my friends. They know." CNN cannot independently verify the veracity of the news reports coming from Russia or the statements made by the alleged attacker, which may have been made under duress. RIA also posted images of the 3 alleged attackers after they were detained, which matched videos uploaded on unofficial channels earlier on Saturday, showing the men being apprehended in the southwest region of Bryansk. RIA said one of the attackers had mentioned returning to Russia from Turkey earlier this month. It's also reported the group lived together in a hostel in the north of Moscow, and at least 2 of the 4 perpetrators met only 10 to 12 days ago. The cars they drove to Crocus City Hall and then used to escape had been bought through a family connection. That is the very latest coming out of Russia and this horrific terror attack. We will see what happens as that story continues. But once again, Muslim terrorism throughout the world setting its baleful eye on Russia in the last few days. 137 people gone. Why? Because They went to the wrong church. That's why. This is the Wells Report. Stick around. We've got more news, including the Vice President of the United States enjoying music that she shouldn't have enjoyed. That's next.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. You can also join us on the chat room. Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble. You can find us there, and we hope you do, and you can bring your opinion to the table. That would be very, very nice, by the way. I'd appreciate that. Let's see, why is ISIS attacking Russia? Well, because apparently Russians are going to the wrong church, apparently. We don't know yet. We have to wait. Let's see. 2 or 3 hour show today. I'll be doing a 2-hour show. This broadcast is on Monday through Friday from 9 until 11 Central Time. Every Monday morning, every morning, Monday through Friday. And so once again, we go through the news, try to make sense of it all. There is news regarding our Vice President of the United States. She traveled to Puerto Rico. This happened on Friday, and she was headed down toward Central America to work on trying to figure out how to stop people from leaving the countries that they believe they're being prosecuted or persecuted in and coming to the United States. And this is Kamala Harris doing her absolute dead level best to find some sort of a solution. Well, part of that travel involved her watching this amazing percussion band. I'm a drummer, love percussion. And there's the vice president clapping along with a Puerto Rican official and then her translator right there in the black dress. Leans over to her and says, "Hey, they're making fun of you." Oops. Yeah, they were making fun of the vice president. Meanwhile, the official, overhearing the translation also stops clapping. And it's a really catchy beat. You know, I didn't like the lyrics, but it's fun to dance to. And there is the translator, the aide, telling the vice president that this is not good and trying to explain what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. Now, a lot of this is ridiculous and a lot of it is nuts and so on, and I don't have any idea who is on Kamala Harris's staff that made that wonderful thing possible. But the vice president doesn't need any help whatsoever in looking stupid. And why her staff would put her in that position is a mystery to me. It was something that she probably should have gotten a little bit of a clue about as she was traveling around in the motorcade. She could see demonstrators, onlookers. One held a sign that said, "Kamala Harris is a war criminal." Another called USA and Israel genocidal. The woman standing next to Harris is Mariana Reyes. She's the executive director at La Goico, while the man is Frankie Miranda, Hispanic Federation president, according to the Associated Press. "We want to know, Kamala, what did you come here for? Long live free Palestine and Haiti too," the band said. This according to the account managed by the Republican National Committee. So, yeah, there you go. Harris then stopped clapping, instead folded her hands and slightly nodded as the song continued. Before visiting the community center, Harris had visited a residential home outside San Juan that was damaged during Hurricane Maria, but has since been outfitted with solar panels and water tanks through a federal program. She was joined by Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, Deputy Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Adrian Todman, and Puerto Rico Governor Pedro Pierluisi. What we need to do then is just supply the community and talent here with the capacity and the resources. And so President Joe Biden and I have been very intentional about what we're doing for the leaders and the people and the families of Puerto Rico. So far, our administration has invested over $140 billion in Puerto Rico, but apparently not quite enough money to keep from embarrassing the people who are in some way trying to help Puerto Rico after a hurricane from years and years ago. Like I said, you know, if I had anything to do with Kamala Harris's staff, first of all, I'd be honest in working for her and saying, hey, I would never take the job. But if I did have the job, I'd make sure that stuff like that didn't happen. Really? It's not because I'm pro-Biden or pro-Kamala Harris, not in any way, shape, or form. But what I am is pro-American. And I'm really hoping that at some point, people realize that when Kamala Harris looks stupid, the rest of us do too.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. Hey, I wanted to say that if you find value in this broadcast, please do share it with your friends. Before you do that, subscribe. Ask your friends to subscribe to it. Hit the notification button so you know when we're on the air. We do a lot of extra reports depending on the news of the day. And I'd like you to see those because you can come here for truthful and honest reporting. Also, by the way, you can, like I said, subscribe, but also hit those thumbs ups. Those likes go a long way to the success and possible future of this broadcast. Help us out. We sure would appreciate it. Telephone number is 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Lots of new faces on the Wells Report. And so what you may not know is that I spent 12 years living in Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is a wonderful place to live. If you live there, you're not necessarily besieged by the lot of people that come, hundreds of thousands of them every weekend, to lose as much money as they can. And you develop a certain number of things that are basically politeness when it comes to, say, for example, all the celebrities you see. I mean, I've seen well over 100 celebrities in my time. I'm more than that, maybe even 1,000. And what you learn when you're living in Las Vegas is you leave those people alone. They're just regular folk. And just give them their own privacy because they're out walking around, usually in places not around the Strip. But I lived outside the Strip in a place called Green Valley. And Green Valley was wonderful, by the way. And we would see all those people walking around all the time. You know, every now and then, if they looked at you, you would nod, smile, and say hi, and then just move on. That was one of the things. The other things that you learn are do not go into the gambling houses and throw your money in the toilet, because that's exactly what it is. They're nice toilets. I mean, they are opulent. I mean, those buildings are amazing. Las Vegas is adult Disneyland. But Las Vegas gives you an opportunity, like I said, to lose money. And while it was this small enclave in the United States, yeah, it's relatively harmless. And they do an awful lot in Las Vegas to take care of gambling addicts. And there are a lot of people that are flat addicted to gambling. They think they're going to recoup all of their losses with their next bet. They're called plungers. So all was well until Big League Sports saw fit to nestle up to Las Vegas, relocating franchises, traditional franchises from around their particular leagues in Las Vegas. And that is creating problems, big ones. Pete Rose, as you know, got more hits than any other major leaguer, but was found to have been betting on games while he was a player and a manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Easily vote intoable into the Hall of Fame, has sat outside the Hall of Fame because of those mistakes. Now, why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame after all of these, Major League Baseball especially, saw fit to cozy up to sports betting in Las Vegas, I have no idea. I have no idea. But what I said then and what I say now is that this will be devastating to pro sports in the United States. Devastating. I said months ago that it would only be a matter of time before there was some huge betting scandal. And just like that, we have a huge betting scandal. Los Angeles Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani is expected to address the media today as Major League Baseball investigates allegations of theft against his longtime interpreter. He said, quote, "I'm happy he's going to speak," or this is Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, said, "I'm happy he's going to speak to what he knows and give his thoughts on the whole situation. I think it will give us a bit more clarity. Will Ayrton, a Dodger employee, will serve as Ohtani's interpreter because the interpreter apparently, after stealing a lot of money from Shohei Ohtani, is in deep legal trouble. The allegations came to light last week when Ohtani's Japanese interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, was fired after Ohtani's lawyers accused him of massive theft of millions of dollars in placing bets with a bookmaker under federal investigation. This according to ESPN and the Los Angeles Times, which first reported the story. Ohtani signed an unparalleled 10-year, $700 million deal with the Dodgers this offseason. Ohtani doesn't speak often with reporters, but has not spoken publicly since Mizuhara's firing. The scandal has threatened to overshadow the start of the Major League Baseball's opening day. That was last Thursday, challenging the public's understanding of one of baseball's biggest stars and brought renewed scrutiny to professional sports closeness with big-time gambling. The MLB and the Internal Revenue Service are separately investigating Mizuhara. Major League Baseball has been gathering information since we learned about the allegations involving Shohei Ohtani and Ipel Mizuhara from the news media, the league said in a news release last week. Earlier today, our Department of Investigations began their formal process investigating the matter. The IRS Criminal Investigation Los Angeles field office is investigating both Mizuhara and Matthew Bowyer, or Bauer, IRS spokesman Scott Villiard told CNN on Friday. Bauer, a former bookmaker, is a California resident whose bankruptcy court documents showed gambling debts of more than $425,000 more than a decade ago. Ohtani and Mizuhara first worked together from 2013 to 2017 when Mizuhara served as translator for the Nippon Ham Fighters, Ohtani's team with the Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball League. This according to Major League Baseball. When Ohtani joined the Los Angeles Angels in 2018, he asked Mizuhara to join him as his translator in his rookie season. Mizuhara eventually followed the star to the Dodgers, according to CNN. ESPN's Tisha Thompson, citing multiple unnamed sources, said on CNN's The Lead, at least $4.5 million was withdrawn via wire transfer from Ohtani's bank accounts, although it's unclear who initiated the transfers. CNN has sought comment from Mizuhara and Ohtani's agent. Ohtani's attorneys have not detailed how they believe the funds were stolen, fueling questions about the scandal that emerged as Ohtani made his much-anticipated debut with the Los Angeles Dodgers. An attorney for Bauer, former bookmaker under federal investigation related to gambling, said he never met or had any direct contact with Ohtani, but did do business with Mizuhara. Matthew Bauer never spoke with or emailed with or texted with or had any contact whatsoever with Shohei Ohtani, according to his attorney, Diane Bass, also speaking to CNN on camera. The attorney also said that Ohtani's interpreter never bet on baseball. When discussing Ohtani's name on one of the wire transfers to Bauer's organization to cover a bet, as far as Mr. Bauer understood, the bet was from Ippei or being covered by Mr. Ohtani for Ippei. So in other words, there is some sort of contact according to Mr. Bauer or Mr. Bass. And so there is something going on here. Bass has emphasized while Bauer is under federal investigation, he has not been charged with a crime. She said that Bauer stopped his bookmaking operation in October of 2023 when feds showed up at his house. Bauer met Mizuhara after a Padres game in San Diego in 2022, according to Bass. She told CNN she does not know how often Mizuhara placed bets or how much he bet, but Bauer told her Mizuhara placed bets regularly on primarily soccer, occasionally football and basketball, but it was never baseball. Mizuhara told ESPN last Tuesday, "I never bet on baseball. That's 100%. I knew that rule. We had a meeting about that in spring training." Bass said that Mizuhara's gambling got out of hand at a certain point, but he was making regular payments for a significant amount of time. Asked if the payments were coming from Mizuhara or Ohtani's account, Bass replied, quote, "I honestly don't know how many transfers came from which accounts or whether it was more than one account. I don't have access to that information," unquote. Okay, so one of baseball's biggest superstars is now under the shadow of big-time sports gambling. Millions of dollars changing hands. It's hard to believe that Mr. Ohtani does not have some kind of peripheral involvement in this case. But we love our sports stars. I, on the other hand, I'm looking at this from a standpoint of why in heaven's name did Major League Sports make this unbelievably foolish decision? I mean, how many superstars does baseball want to ruin? Now, Shohei Ohtani is an amazing ball player. He pitches very well. He hits very well. We haven't seen that since Babe Ruth. Certainly not at the major league level. and that any of this could be happening is okay. It's all on the part of the translator. It's a decision that Ohtani made maybe to just cover the gambling debts of his translator and friend. But that's not the point. The point is that this is the first major scandal. There will be others. There will be others. I mean, Paul Hornung of the Green Bay Packers in their heyday was also found to have gambled. He was gone. Pete Rose, I've already talked about. Will Ohtani be the next casualty of this unbelievably bad decision on the part of Major League Sports? And I'm not singling out baseball. The NFL has this problem. I mean, the next time you see any Major League game of any sport, you will see stars of that sport, former stars, bringing out the good news on how you can bet on these games. There's not a major sports network anywhere in the nation or perhaps around the world that doesn't do what's called a tout show. A tout show is where bookies will explain how they're planning on allowing bets for a certain game under what circumstances. And saying, hey, we think that this is a really good bet because of this, that, and such and so. All the while creating the numbers in a way that they will, as Las Vegas does, always take in more money than they pay out. And the odds will change. The odds will change as the betting goes on. It is a no-lose proposition for sports bettors. That's why when you go to Las Vegas, you will see these opulent lounges with televisions and free drinks and free food and beautiful people wandering around having a great time, losing huge amounts of money. And that Major League Sports is involved in it is, again, something that I foresaw because I lived there. Gambling is a powerful drug. Those people that are devotees of that, they are stuck. They're hopeless in it. They're addicts. And certainly it appears as though Ohtani's translator, former translator, is one of those addicts. And he has spent millions of dollars. Well, I don't know what a translator's salary is, but it's not millions of dollars. So again, where's the money coming from? Well, now we find ourselves in a position where we have to look at sports in general and wonder just exactly what they're trying to accomplish. Is there money? Sure. Is some of that money coming to those leagues? Absolutely. What's the cut? What's the skim for the leagues? What's all that? I mean, are we supposedly to believe that with this cozying up to big time gambling, that the owners aren't involved in that in some way, if not just raking in their part of the profit? Are we supposed to believe that the owners aren't betting on their own teams to win, hopefully, but betting on them is, once again, that's crossing the Rubicon into a mess. And big time sports has done it. Mark my words. This is the first big betting scandal involving a big time professional athlete. There will be others. There will be others. In fact, this entire thing may have kicked over an anthill that will rock the sports world to its core. It's a mess. It's a horrible, terrible mess. And it was a self-inflicted wound. If you are trying to maintain the public's trust in honest competition, you can't have honest competition with the shadow of betting on that competition hanging over it. That's why the leagues up to a few years ago did everything they possibly could to distance themselves. And then when you start thinking about, okay, so we've seen an NBA referee get flushed down the toilet fixing games, then you start thinking about some of the calls you saw last season among the referees. Did they do anything wrong? Probably not. But we don't know, do we? The Wells Report in progress. We'll be back with more coming up in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. One of the great things about this broadcast is we have this chat room. And on that chat room, I regularly get news tips. And one comes from 1776 John, which I've now confirmed through NBC. This from Diana Paulson. An appeals court today handed Trump a major victory, reducing the bond required for his civil fraud verdict and giving him 10 more days to post it. He now has 10 days to pay a $175 million bond, rather than having to pay nearly $500 million by today. The decision also stayed the ban on Trump and some of his family members from serving on the boards of companies. They did not grant a request from Trump to prohibit the independent monitoring or install an independent director of compliance. So there you go. That is breaking news. It's about 16 minutes old. John, 1776 John. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So, beginning in 1776, the United States of America first declared itself and then stood in open rebellion against the British Crown. And while the Revolutionary War that ensued gave us this nation, we have always maintained a level of love and respect for the crown. And over the weekend, we heard from the Princess of Wales regarding her medical condition. She had abdominal surgery. In that abdominal surgery, which was expected not to show terribly bad news, the examination of the tissues removed showed terribly bad news. The Princess of Wales took to a beautiful bench on the grounds of, I believe, Kensington Palace and said this.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body, and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support, and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space, and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
That was the Princess of Wales speaking to her nation and giving us the bad news that she got first, along with her family. The King of England, Charles, is also suffering through cancer and chemotherapy. It has been kept private, thankfully, by the royal family, and I suggest that that should stay in place. These people are indeed perhaps the most revered monarchy left in the world, and they deserve whatever considerations that they should. The royal families of Europe are responsible for a great deal of human civilization. And while totalitarian rule, benevolent or not, ignores the people, in England they have been able to bridge the gap of totalitarian rule through the parliament and not lose their monarchy at the same time. I hope that everyone that has any kind of interest in the royal family pause, and around their dinner tables tonight, as we have for the past several days, pray for the renewed health and vigor of the members of the royal family that are dealing with this bad news. I hope you do too. As I have seen for myself, the power of prayer is truly important. It works. And I hope it works in the case of the royal family. May God bless the Princess of Wales, King Charles, and that entire family, especially the kids, as they try to deal with just exactly what this means. And God bless Will as he supports his wife, and so on. This has been the Wells Report for Monday, the 25th day of March. I'm John David Wells. Once again, if you find value in this show, please subscribe to it, hit the notification buttons, give us thumbs ups. And if you'd like to support the show financially, go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. Patreon.com. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. And there we go. Thanks very much for all the people that joined us on the chat room today. Thanks very much for the news tip from 1776 John. God bless you, my friend. That was really, really good. Let's see. Why are we looking at Kate Middleton? Okay. Yeah, we were looking at Kate Middleton because we were telling the story of her cancer. Good heavens. Good heavens. Don't know exactly what cancer she's dealing with, but I don't think we need to know. All we know is that it caused major abdominal surgery, and she's recovering. And let's hope that recovery is supremely successful, along with her father-in-law. And let's hope that all those people that are suffering, watching this broadcast or knowing somebody, that their conditions be assuaged in due time, in due course, according to his will. God bless them all. But don't forget that prayer thing. It's a nice time to sit down with the family and have a thought right before you dig in. God bless you and yours. Take good care. Thanks very much for watching the Wells Report, and I'll see you again tomorrow, just as I said, right here on your favorite social media platform. Take care.